Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of MasterMind Minutes. I'm Gary Occhigrosso, the managing partner for Franchise Growth Solutions, and you can learn all about Franchise Growth Solutions by going to our website, which is listed above or below this video cast, depending on what platform you're watching. MasterMind Minutes, for those of you who are new to this, is a webcast where we share tips from experts in minutes, not hours. We have one guest, one question, one expert answer. And of course, if you need further information, we'll give you all the contact info and you can speak to our guests directly later on after the webcast. Today, my guest is a good friend. I've known him for 25 years, maybe more, I don't know. Kestenbaum, who's an attorney who specializes in franchise law and other matters concerning franchising. And from 1982 to 1986, he served as the franchising general counsel for Sbarro, which I'm sure everyone knows. It's a national franchisor of 1,000 family-style Italian restaurants. He also co-founded and was the president and chairman of the board of Franchise It Corporation, which he can talk about a little later on. It was the first publicly traded company specializing in providing franchise marketing, consulting, and financing for emerging franchise companies. He is also the author of a book called So You Want to Franchise Your Business. And I've read the book and I give the book out to people who are interested in franchising because it's really a terrific kind of how-to manual and what you should be thinking about. So Harold, thank you for being with us today. I truly appreciate the time. And
Gary, it's my pleasure.
Before we get to the one question, tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you've been doing, the firm, and just what's been going on lately in the world of Harold Kestenbaum.
Well, I have been sitting in my office in my house since about March 15th and working. But I've been in franchise law and franchise relations for over 43 years. And yes, I was general counsel for Sbarro, but I also sat on their board for 23 years. Mm-hmm. I've run a public company, the franchise consulting company. I've been on the board of a number of franchise companies over the years. I've actually even been a franchisee. So I've been on both sides and I've been doing it. And I actually got into it totally by accident. In 1977, I was working for a tiny firm in Manhattan. And the owner of the firm had a small client that did franchising. It was actually a public company, but one of their models was a franchise company. And he said, you know, I don't have time for this. You got to learn about it. So for 4 years, I read, because there was no Google. You couldn't Google franchising in 1977. I read
Google anything.
Right. So that's right. So I just read every book I could find. And 1981, I said, you know what? I love this. So I'm going out on my own. And I went out on my own, and that's what I've been doing ever since. Then in May of last year, a couple of guys who I know for a number of years, I used to see them at the trade shows, Tom Spady and Josh Liana. Mm-hmm. We were down in Fort Lauderdale. I don't know if you were at that show or not.
Yeah, I was. Yep.
Yeah. And we were sitting around, and it was the third day of the show, and I was beat. And they said to me, how many more shows, how many more years are you going to do this for? And I said, well, you know, not that much longer. They said, you know, we should talk. I said, okay, let's talk. So I actually had hired a consultant who specialized in placing senior lawyers for their, you know, exit strategy. So he said, we scheduled a meeting. They came up to Melville. We met. We went down to Philadelphia. And in about 3 or 4 weeks, we made a deal and we merged. And now I'm a partner in Spady and Liana. They're based in Philly. Now they're kind of young compared to me. They're both 47, and I'm 70 and a half. So like I'm the father of the firm. But it's nice to have younger guys, yeah, you know, very energetic, and it's terrific. And
yeah,
I've been able to concentrate on what I do best, which is marketing. And I'm going out looking for new business, and I let them do all the paperwork and all the filings, and I don't want to know about that stuff.
I hear you. And they're great guys. I know Tom and Josh probably about 10 years, maybe a little bit longer. And I have to agree. I think, you and them together is a great blend. And a lot of my clients, who are their clients and were your clients or are your clients now all kind of in one place,
Mhm.
is really good for me. So, and look, you've seen it, you've seen, I'm going to say you've seen virtually all of everything because COVID is kind of new. So
Oh,
you
yeah,
haven't seen
but
this.
I
Other
haven't
than
seen
that,
this. But
but
don't
other than
forget,
that, you've seen it
I
all.
lived through the recession with Bill Clinton, 9/11, the 208 recession, and now this. I mean, this is
Right.
a little bit different, but what I've said to a lot of people, and you listen to the scientists. Once there's a vaccine, this will be like the flu, and
Ye-
that's what's going to happen. It may not
Yeah.
be. It may not be a year from now, but it'll happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've been, very forward thinking on it and letting people know, and when I hear it's a new norm, I tell them, no, it's a temporary norm because I think there's a certain positivity to that. So let me ask you the question then. You know, how do you see franchisors best navigating kind of the post-COVID world in terms of, what do they need to do in order to grow? Because that is still, from a franchise point of view, obviously the priority is to make sure the franchisees are successful, and maybe a secondary priority there is to grow by adding more franchisees to the
Mm.
system. So how do you see that happening in a post-COVID world?
If we use the footprint of the recession in 2008 and 9, and I was pretty active then, we saw that with the people who were getting laid off, and while the unemployment was pretty bad then, it's not as bad as it is now.
Hmm.
But that wasn't temporary. This unemployment, I think, is more temporary than it was in 2009. Jobs weren't coming back. So people said, you know what? I really need to do something. Maybe I should own my own business. And as you know, franchise was booming from 2008 to 2000 now, and that was part of the reason. And I don't see it any differently.
Hmm.
When I'm sitting with, I'm not sitting anymore, but when I'm zooming with with new franchisor potentials, and I'm telling them, this is a good time to start ramping up and getting your documents done and getting in place, because by the fall, people are going to be looking for businesses, and
Hmm.
that franchise sales activities are going to be great in the fall and in the winter. It's not going to be doom and gloom. Now, sure, certain you know, areas of franchising are hurt more than others. And you and I talked about this before. The gyms and the personal services, that may take a little longer. But I think the restaurant business, except for the table service restaurants, they're going to do fine. I have clients in the pizza business who are doing more sales than they did before this. I mean, they do take out and delivery. That's what
Hmm.
pizzas do. They have very few seats, so they haven't been impacted as much.
Yep.
I have a client that's a full service bar. It's like a Buffalo Wild Wings. They hurt. It's hard for a restaurant like that to pivot to takeout. I mean, they can do it, but it's not so easy.
Yeah.
And by the time they figure it out, the restaurants will be open.
Yep. Yep. So if I'm hearing you correctly, and maybe you want to just expand upon it, it sounds like what franchisors can do in the post-COVID world, or to get ready in terms of growth, is to maybe refocus on their franchise documents and see, hey, what could we change in the event this happens again? That maybe some things happen there, and then how they can reopen in a smart way and educate franchisees. I mean, where do you see, it's part of the first question, where do you see the franchisors supporting the franchisees? How do you see that?
Well, what I have seen with a lot of clients is that they're kind of getting ahead of it, and they know the franchisees are going to be hurting. So back in March, a lot of them were giving royalty relief right off the bat. They didn't wait till the franchisees were begging them. They got out in front and said, look, we're going to cut your royalties in half for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it was. And then when you come back, then we'll make it up at the back end. And I think the franchisees appreciated that. The franchisors that put their head in the sand and pretended that this didn't exist, the franchisees are not going to come out of this happy. They're going to have disgruntled franchisees, and they're going to have a problem. But the ones who were more compassionate and sympathetic to the plight of these franchisees, I think they'll do really well when we come out of this.
I agree. I agree. I think how companies are treating their franchisees and their employees and the sensitivity and respect that they show, people are going to be in a decision-making mode kind of on the way back. And if you've been mistreated by your franchisor or even your employer, you're going to think twice, hey, we had a crisis here and look at how this company responded to me. Maybe I want to move on. And I'll tell you, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here. I did an interview with Charles Watson, who is the CEO of Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Actually, it's my latest Forbes.com article. And initially, the interview was not about COVID. It was more about him taking over the reins of the company. But obviously, you can't ignore what's going on. And he rallied his franchisees to support the community, get involved in community support. Yes, he did royalty relief. They did a lot of support. And as a result, it continues to, give them the momentum for growth, which as they move out of this, they're going to continue. I mean, one of the amazing numbers, I don't want to push the concept, you can read about them, but one of the amazing numbers there is just about almost 60% of all the new units that they open are opened by existing franchisees. And I think that goes back to what you say, where in a time of crisis, good times, bad times, you got to treat your franchisees right. And in a crisis, you got to support them and do the things that.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is not the time to start throwing out default notices to franchisees. And believe me, I have clients who are doing that. And yes, believe it or not. And I'm, look, it's not my business, and I can't tell them, what are you doing? Why don't you wait till this is over before you start beating franchisees up? But you know what? They think they know better than me, so let them do it. But they're all making mistakes by doing that. I think that you got to really kind of take a step back when you're talking about enforcement and wait till things shake out and wait till the economy opens up and then start deciding what you want to do. But to do it now, I've got 3 clients who are asking us to send out default notices. I mean, come on, that's wrong. But it's their business, not mine, and they do what they need to do.
Well, on that note, then, what I would tell our viewers, and if you want to avoid some of these mistakes, because clearly I think that's a mistake, get in touch with Harold, get in touch with his firm, and they can kind of guide you and navigate you through not only this crisis, but just also navigating how you build a franchise system on a firm footing and keeping your franchisees happy and growing and profitable and on and on and on. Harold, how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Best way is email, because one of the negatives of working from home is I'm working on my cell phone. I don't love that. So it's easier to just email me at hkestenbaum at spadialaw.com.
Okay. And we're gonna that'll be in kind of the post that this thing is amplified with. So for anyone who's watching, don't worry about writing it down. Harold, I can't thank you enough. You've been one of the longer mastermind minutes here, because that's because you're a bigger mastermind. But I look forward to seeing you in person at some point.
And Gary, we go back to 1993.
Yeah, Ranch One, right?
No, before that, your hot dog deal.
Oh my Lord! Wow, yeah. That's right. So 1993 is like.
What was that called?
Oh, that was called Sports Dog.
Sports Dog. That's
they
right.
They were one of my first clients, but
that's
like when dinosaurs ruled the world.
Yes, I'm telling you.
My daughter was like 4 years old or so, maybe 3. She's 31 now, so I don't want to think about that.
I'm telling you, that was the first.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, Harold, again, I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us today. And again, anyone who really wants the expert advice on on franchising, contact Harold. And like I said, I hope to see you again soon.
It's my
in
pleasure.
person.
We will, for
All
sure.
right.
May not be at a trade show, though. That's
No.
going to be interesting.
Yes. Be well. Be
Okay,
well.
Gary. All right, be good.